The problem, Frankie said, closing in to form a blockade, is that a dozen investment bankers are now getting in line to manage your assets. And I'm not talking about your finances. Stand up, Sleeping Beauty. I'll tie your shoe. I don't have any finances to manage, but at least that means I don't lie awake at night worrying about yield and interest rates. That's a bonus, although not quite the bonus those bankers are probably used to. Eva stood up and rubbed her eyes. Before 10 in the morning, she had trouble focusing. You don't have to tie my shoe. I am not 6 years old. You weren't this lethal when you were 6 years old. It's safer if I do it. I don't have cleavage that should come with a health warning or a brain incapable of filtering what comes out of my mouth. And move to the side. This is New York City. It's virtually a criminal offense to block the flow of commuters. There was a hint of irritation in Frankie's voice, enough to make Eva frown as she stuck her foot out. You can't be prosecuted for being in someone's way. What's wrong with you this morning? Nothing. Paige exchanged glances with Eva. They both knew nothing meant something, and both knew better than to push for answers. Frankie spoke when she was ready, which was usually only after she'd bottled it up for a while. Blocking the flow of commuters could be deemed provocation, Paige said. And she was this lethal. You've forgotten her 8th birthday party when Freddie Major threatened to beat up Paul Matthews if she didn't agree to marry him? Freddie Major. The memory drew a ghost of a smile from Frankie. I put a frog down his shirt. Eva shuddered. You were an evil child. What can I say? I'm not good with men. Of any age. Frankie thrust her can of drink into Eva's hand. Hold that, and if you throw it in the trash, our friendship is over. Our friendship has survived more than 20 years. I like to think it would survive me throwing your junk food in the trash. It wouldn't. Athletic and supple, Frankie dropped into a crouch. Everyone is allowed a vice. Unhealthy eating is mine. Diet Cola is not breakfast. Your eating habits are life-threatening. Why won't you let me make you a delicious kale and spinach smoothie? Eva pleaded. Because I like to keep my breakfast down once I've eaten it, and my eating habits are no more life-threatening than your dress habits. Anyway, I wasn't in a breakfast mood today. Frankie tied the laces of Eva's bright green Converse as a river of commuters flowed past them, all intent on reaching their destination as fast as possible. She winced as someone knocked into her. Why don't you ever do a double knot, Eve? Because I dressed in my sleep. Frankie stood up and plucked her Diet Cola from Eva's hand, her hair tumbling in fiery flames past her shoulders. Ouch! Excuse me! She adjusted her glasses and turned her head to glare at the retreating figure of a man in a suit. It's good manners to anesthetize someone before you remove their kidneys with your briefcase. Mumbling threats under her breath, she rubbed her ribs with her hand. There are days when I want to go back to living in a small town. You're kidding. You'd move back to Puffin Island? Paige shifted her bag onto the other shoulder. I don't ever feel that way, not even when I'm on the subway, and I'm so squashed it feels as if I'm being hugged by a boa constrictor. Not that the island isn't pretty, because it is, but it's an island. Enough said. She'd felt marooned from civilization by the choppy waters of Penobscot Bay, smothered by a thick blanket of parental anxiety. I like living in a place where people don't know every detail of my life. At times, it had felt like collective parenting. Paige, why aren't you wearing a sweater? Paige, I saw the helicopter taking you to hospital again, you poor thing. She'd felt trapped and constrained, as if someone had grasped her in a tight fist, determined to keep her from escaping. Life had been all about keeping her well, keeping her safe, keeping her protected, until she'd wanted to scream out the question that had burned inside her for most of her childhood. What was the point in being alive if you weren't allowed to live? Moving to New York City was the best, most exciting thing that had ever happened to her, and it was different from Puffin Island in every possible way. Some would have said worse. Not Paige. Frankie was frowning. We all know I can't set foot on Puffin Island again. I'd be lynched. There are a few things I miss, but one thing I don't miss is everyone staring at me angrily because my mother has had yet another